Hi. If you just watched my video on how to get a Scratch account, great. And what we're left off is we're here on the programming thing. We can program now. But how do you do this? There's all this different stuff to do. Like there's different tabs here and all sorts of stuff. But you have no idea what to do. You can click on backdrops here, and everything is really complicated, and you don't really understand how to do anything on Scratch. Okay, then this is the video for you. Probably in the next video, I'm gonna teach about drawing stuff and getting stuff on Scratch, but this right now, we're just gonna program a little bit. With the costumes, if you have these two costumes, you can click on whatever one you want, and you can change them in game. So here, switch costume to this block right here. You can switch the costume to costume 2 or costume 1. So that is that. There's all these blocks here, but I think I'm going to kind of just make a program, not a very big one or anything, just a little tiny program, just to kind of get you used to Scratch a little bit, and maybe you'll understand blocks a little bit more, and soon eventually you might know all of them, and I'm pretty sure I know all of them, so we can get there. Okay, so when flag clicked is when the game starts, pretty much, and to start the game you have to click this flag. When something is highlighted with like a yellow highlight, that means it's running the code. So if I click this, that means I'm gonna run it, and that's why it has that little yellow stuff. And if I click the flag, nothing happens. And the reason why is because there's nothing coming after this when flag click. We want it to do something when the game starts, but what do we want it to do? There's a lot of other things. When key any of these pressed to start something, start a code, or when the sprite clicked, these are sprites. When backdrops, all these different things. We're not going to go through all these. We're just going to do the main one right now, when flag clicked. Now, okay, this should be events. Okay, so this is events. So you got to go to events and do when flag clicked. Now we're going to go to control. There's a lot of blocks here that you might understand because of what they say on it. But we're going to grab a forever loop. So now what it's going to do is we're going to put this right here, and it's going to do something forever. What is it going to do forever? Well, it's going to do whatever is inside of this. It's going to do that forever. So when the green flag is clicked, it's going to do something forever in here. Now, nothing is happening in there. So it's just going to forever be doing nothing. So if you click the green flag, see, this is highlighted. That means it's running the code, but nothing's happening because there's nothing in there. If we want to stop the code, we can click this stop button, and we can drag the screen around out here, so that's cool. Okay, so what do we want it to do forever? Well, I'm gonna make it actually be able to go left and right and up and down with the arrow keys. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab this if thing right below the forever loop, and this if has if whatever happens in here is what. Okay, so if whatever happens in here is true, then it does whatever is in here. Otherwise, it just keeps going. And after it does the stuff in here, it's just going to keep going. So basically, it comes up to this, and no matter what, it's going to keep going. But if the thing in here is true, then it's going to do what's in here and then keep going. If that makes any sense. The if else is it's going to come here, and if the thing in here is true, then it's going to do this and then keep going. If the thing is not true, then it's going to do what is in here and then keep going. So we're just going to grab this if here. And so if what is true, we're going to go to sensing, and we're going to grab this block right here. If here, this if, so we're going to grab key pressed, and what key is pressed, we can actually click any key from space, up arrow, down arrow, left arrow, and right arrow, and then any key if it's any key, and then A to Z, and then 0 to 9. So really, almost any key there is. Okay, not really almost, but a lot of keys. So what we're going to do is right arrow. Key right arrow pressed. So if key right arrow pressed, then we want to do something. So forever, if key right arrow pressed, then it's going to do something in here. If the key right arrow is not pressed, then it's just going to keep going in this forever loop and wait until it is pressed. And then once it is pressed, then it will do what's in here and then just keep going again. So if we hold the right arrow key down, then we'll just keep doing what's inside of here until we release it again. So that's what this code does. Hopefully you understand that. So when flag clicks, it's going to forever see if the right arrow key is pressed. But if the key is pressed or not, nothing's going to happen because nothing is in here. So if we just try that, when I click right arrow, nothing happens. So what do we want it to do when the key right arrow pressed? Now we're going to go to motion up at the top, and we're going to look down here, and we're going to look at the change X, set X, change Y, and set Y blocks. So the Y positioning is how high up here it is to down how low it is. So it's like, this is the Y position here where my mouse is, and then this is the X position, how far across up here it is. And this actually tells you how far up and how far down it is. The center is this, if the center of this here, so if we just drag this up here, and we're just going to set this to 0, the X, it's still in the middle of this X, so the X position is 0. If we dragged it over all the way over here, it would actually end up being 240. And then all the way over here is negative 240. Anyway, so it's all the way from 240 to negative 240. And right in the middle is 0. And same for Y, except as you can see, this is kind of a rectangle, not a square. So it actually goes to 180 to 0 to minus 180. So as you can see, this is also not exact. And that's just because I'm not exact. So if we just put this in 0, 0, we're going to put it in the direct middle. There. I'm right in the middle. Okay. So we want to change the X position. So setting the X is just setting the X to whatever we want it to be. No matter where it is, it's going to set the X to that. Change X is no matter where it is, wherever it is, it's going to change the X by 10. So you can see this is minus 240 and 240. Minus 240 what? Well, we call them steps. So it's 240 steps this way and minus 240 steps this way. So if we change the X by 10 steps every time the key right arrow is pressed. So if I just click this, that means it's going to run the code. It's going to change the X by 10 steps. When I click it, watch the cat. That's 10 steps. You can see the X is 10 now. We're just going to put it back at 0. Watch the cat. It went minus 10 steps. So that is basically 10 steps. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the X by like 5 every time the key right arrow is pressed. Except you can't just press it and you have to hold it down for a little bit. So it's going to change the X by a little bit more than 5 steps. But when we click the flag, now when we click left arrow, nothing happens. We click up arrow, nothing happens. Down arrow, nothing happens. Right arrow will move the cat to the right. So great, now we got the right arrow pressed. So forever, if key right arrow pressed, then we're going to change the X by 5. No matter what the X is, it's going to change the X 5 steps from where it is. So we're going to put this back on 0, and we're going to do left arrow pressed. So if we take this, if right arrow key pressed, then change X by 5, and we just right click it, it gives us some options. We can delete all 3 of these blocks. We can add a comment to it, or we can duplicate it. We're just going to duplicate it, and now we have 2 of them. We're going to put one of them back in here, anyone you want, And with this one down here, we're going to do if key left arrow pressed. So if key left arrow pressed, then we're going to change the x by -5. So the x is going to go -5. So if we put this in right here, and we click this, right arrow press, left arrow pressed. Up and down don't work though. So let's make up and down. So we're actually going to duplicate all of this now, right here. And we're going to go to this if key right arrow pressed, and we're going to make it up arrow. And if key left arrow pressed, we're going to make it key down arrow. And now we're going to take the x out, because the x is this way. With the down and up arrow, we want it to go up and down this way. And what is this? It's the y position. So this is positive 180, this is negative 180. So we'd want to change the y by 5 if the key up arrow is pressed. So it's going to go up to the positive because it's 5, not negative 5. We're going to duplicate this. And we're going to do change y by -5. If we put this in, and we click the flag, up arrow, down arrow, right arrow, and left arrow. So it works. So there is another way to do this. I think this is the best way. I actually know this is the best way, because there is another way to do it, except it only goes, like if we want to click the right arrow press, it would go 5 steps, it would wait a little bit, and then it would start going 5 steps. And that is, we'll just do when key right arrow pressed, then we wanted it to do something. We're going to change the x by 5, because that's basically what this does, right? And if we try this, right arrow, see how it kind of waits a little bit and then it goes? It's not as smooth. So this way is much better. But that way is a possibility if you wanted to do it. But now we can move the cat around. Now that is cool. But and I would do more code, because this is not a very great code, it's just a little bit of code. But you've learned how to use this key, right arrow press, left arrow, and all these kind of things here. The if block, you learned the forever block, you learned the change y by and the set y, change x by and the set x by, whatever you want, and then change y by and change y by and set y by. So that is cool, but these other blocks, most of these you could probably figure out. But I will make more videos on more of these blocks, so you can check those out. But in the next video, I think I'm going to make costumes. So by the time you watch this, you're probably going to this video is probably going to be out. But I'm going to make a video where I'll show you how to draw and stuff like that, and make your own sprites. And then you can also go to the sprite library and choose some sprites. And there's lots of things you can do in Scratch. You can create a background and stuff like that. It's actually called Backdrop. But I'm not going to be able to go through all of this in this video. We've been going for 13 minutes. Actually 14 minutes. So that's pretty much it for this video. So yeah, that's what we got. So yeah, thank you for watching, and please remember to subscribe, and go ahead and watch that video on drawing in the costumes.